Well, listen to that wind in the trees. I'm on, you guessed it, I'm on the riverbank. Today is the 10th of May. It's a very blustery, grey day with rain in the air. And it's strange, I'm on the riverbank, and from where I'm standing, as I just kind of walked in here, it's all dry. It's like the river has changed course or something. It's all moved further across. Because from here I can't see any water. It's very windy, so I'm trying to get some shelter from the wind. Flo and Tucor gone to Maraval. They just went this afternoon for today's Sunday. They're back Tuesday, going to see Alex. And me, what a day it's been. I got up at about 12, and then after Flo left at about 2, I felt totally exhausted, so I went back to bed, and I fell asleep till 6. It's now about 6:30, because I thought, well, I better get out and get some air. As I look at the sky, I can see sheets of rain all around the place. And so I'm going to be wide awake tonight, and I'm back playing Transport Fever, and I had this notion of starting again. That wind, I'm not sure it's going to be worthwhile recording here. Yeah, I'm going to play some more Transport Fever. I have this idea that, because I was playing and I'm really enjoying the last few days playing on a kind of random map, and I'd managed to create a nice hub for the railway lines in my Kingston town, and the towns had been growing nicely, and then the traffic started coming from one of the other towns, and now, even though I tried to put in buses and a train, passenger train, it doesn't seem to be doing any good, so everything's stuck in traffic, and then the lorries don't get around. It's the same as SimCity problem, and I could go on and just try and do some of the other towns, but I just thought, wouldn't it be maybe nice to start again, and this time focus entirely on that problem, which comes up to bite you in the ass around 1980 or something. That's when the traffic kicks off. As if I could fix the traffic problem, if I could get everybody travelling on trains and buses, then I'd be free to develop much better with the transport of goods. So that's what I'm thinking of doing tonight. I hope I can get into that. I also am maybe going to upload some more of these audio things, and maybe make a video about this town I'm in at the moment, the map I'm on. But I'm probably going to be awake till at least 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning tonight, because I'm pretty much slept all day. So I hope I get into something, and when I go back I'm going to have some mince. It's the 10th of May. We're starting work next month, like last year. And yeah, that's about it. 4 minutes. Let's walk a bit and see. If it gets too windy, I'm going to have to shut down, because I know that sounds pretty terrible in the microphone. It's amazing, I don't see any rain. I mean, any the water, like the place I'm standing right now, is where the big part of the log was stuck in the bank, the one I took home, the little spot where we had the frogs and the fish, and it was quite a substantial amount of water here in the past, but right now I'm standing right in it, and it's as dry as a bone. I don't think I've ever seen it like that here. Yeah, it's quite weird. You can't even hear the water. So this spot here, this is where we walk in from the road down to here, where, like I say, we had that little spot with the you can see the fish in it. It's completely dry. I can just go straight across the bank here. So I'm walking across. From here now you can't see any water. It's like the river is completely dry. After all the rain we had. It's so strange. Anyway, I'm going to say goodbye because this wind is just going to be annoying to listen back to. Adios. So I think it's the 10th today, the 10th of May, and it's a Monday. Flo's in Maraval because Alex is there and she hadn't seen him for a long time. So, and I'm just looking at my device here. It says this is like file number 23, but I've got all my music from my 50 album on here, and I think I'll take them off. I like to keep things just tidy. Anyway, my sleeping hours are interesting at the moment. I slept yesterday. I woke up at around 1 o'clock or midday, let's say, and then Flo went to Maraval. This is yesterday. And then I went back to bed at about 3 o'clock and slept till 6 because I was knackered. And then, of course, last night I didn't go to bed till 4 o'clock or something, or 3 o'clock. And I woke up at around 6 o'clock to let Bob out. And I couldn't go back to sleep, so I made some tea and sat up in bed looking at YouTube and stuff and listening to the radio from 6 till around 8, and then fell back asleep and got up at 12:30. So I'm starting to take on the habits of the cat. I'm kind of sleeping in bursts at the moment. Sleep a bit during the day, a bit at night. Anyway, I'm also started a new map in Transport Fever. It's an interesting one. I've got 8 massive towns which I'm in the process of joining with the rail line, and I'm in 1865 or something at the moment. And it's going to be interesting because I think as soon as we get into more modern times with these towns, and especially with all the towns connected, it won't take long at all before nothing will be able to move because of the traffic congestion, unless I can do something I haven't done yet, and that's unless I can get some serious rail travel between each place. Like, I mean, 2-3 trains going from one town to the next on the same tracks, so that there's enough ability to take all the passengers. But I'm very engaged at the moment, which is good, because today is a terrible day. It rained all night, storm, wind, rain. I'm walking to the river just to see how the level has increased. But the last 2 days have been extremely wet. I also did something today which made me very happy. I was just checking what was on the SD card from the security camera we have at home, which I was very surprised to see that it's somewhere in the region of 60 or 70 gigabytes, the SD card in that camera. I didn't know you could get a card more than like 30, but it's like nearly 70 gigabytes now on a tiny micro card. It's incredible the amount of storage you can get in small space. Anyway, I looked at it all, and there was lots of stuff that had been recorded from last October, and a bit at Christmas, a bit New Year rather, that I did. So that's kind of the last time it was plugged in properly, when we were still working in October. And you know, the way I am with these things, I hate kind of just deleting them. But it was like 59 gigabytes of footage, because it literally is the vast majority of the month of October on the card. I mean, it's like an enormous amount of clips. A lot of them just clips of an empty room, because we're either at work or we're asleep. But still, I didn't want to delete it all, so I decided, hey, this would be an opportunity to do something with my hard drive that I hardly ever use, the one that I bought all these fantastic adapters for and that I can use as a storage device. So I downloaded the whole 57 gigabytes to the hard drive, which has storage for around 460 gigabytes, so it's got plenty of space. I also had about 20 gigabytes of stuff on the trail cam that I just left running in the house, so I downloaded that as well. I like making use of this thing that I went to the trouble of getting to work on the laptop. I'm very pleased that with the adapters I bought and the plug, you have to plug it in and you power up the hard drive and you get it to work. So there you go, that's all that nonsense. But it's, I guess, nonsense that keeps me occupied, like the game. What else? Bernard's got 2 goats. Goats are the cutest things, because they're not anything like sheep or cows. They're small and clever and they're quite cute. So yeah, that's another addition to his little zoo. Rain has stopped. Everything is quite mucky. And it's about, I reckon it's after 7 o'clock, maybe it could be 7:30, maybe going up to 8. At the moment it's quite late in the evening. So when I go back, I'm going to heat up my dinner, finishing off what I was cooking yesterday. The usual mince. And perhaps fried potatoes or something. Ugh. Muck. And then, in case it's just settling down for the night, the crypto world is doing pretty well. Ethereum has gone past 4,000 now. Funny thing is how easily you get kind of nonchalant about the prices. You go, oh, it's gone past 4,000. I'd like to see it go to 4,500. It's the thing was just, because I remember watching that on the Telegraph page back in January of this year, and I'm sure it was hardly €1,000 at that time for Ethereum. It's incredible, it's gone so high. Bitcoin is struggling to get to 60. It's kind of bouncing around 50, 56, 57. I transferred all my graph into Litecoin. I hope that'll be a good idea. ADA's 173, I think. So yeah, they're all doing fairly well. And here I am back on the riverbed. I was here yesterday, I think. It was very windy. One thing nice about today is there's no wind. This is very noisy underfoot. There's no wind. And the river hasn't really changed much, in spite of all the rain. But I do think it's very strong on the other side. I think it's eating into the bed, so it's actually getting deeper. I must try and call my mother this evening. It was like she was calling me earlier, and then when I tried to call back, her line was busy, so I think she may have called me by mistake. But still, it's been a long time. Normally we speak every week, and I'm aware when it's more than a week. Yeah, I'm sure the river is quite deep now on the other side. So there's just me and Bob at home. What I did last night, which I think is a good idea for me, is basically not to go to bed until I feel really like I'm going to sleep in 2 minutes. When I'm with Flo and when Flo's in bed, sometimes I get a little, I don't know, it's like, must be something from God knows where or what, but I feel a bit of guilt when I'm up too late. And I don't like the idea of sleeping through half the next day. I'd like to keep some kind of normality to getting up, even if I do get up late. But on a few occasions I've gone to bed, and even if it's been like 3 o'clock, I haven't managed to sleep. Last night I just went when I really felt tired, and I slept immediately. And that's a good thing to do for me. Right, I'm having a look at the river. Yeah. I would have thought it would be bigger, actually, with all the rain. So, like I say, either it's just digging down and getting deeper all the time, and so there's more there than meets the eye, or I don't know, there hasn't been as much rain everywhere as there has been here, because it pretty much rained all night. Things started opening up in Ireland today, Monday. Hairdressers, outdoor coffee places, bookshops. In fact, I think most shops of most kind have now opened up. I don't know what the story is with bars and restaurants yet. Me and Flo should be back working next month, halfway through June, because Flo's going off for think it's 2 weeks of yoga on the west coast. God, that's gonna be fun, looking after Tuco. 2 weeks. He's great, Tuco. I just have to try and stop myself from giving him snacks all the time, as he started to get fat. And the ground is very soft. Lots of birds. Something about the bird song reminds me of the past. Reminds me of the distant past, but going back to when I was a teenager. The evening birds. I just now had a memory of how kind of exciting it was when we used to go out on a Friday evening to the pubs. Me and Martina, Seamus McGill, David, Eamon Dooley, John Byrne. Just the feeling when the long evenings had just started and you're walking out and it's bright. We're all going to Finnegan's. Have that first pint. A long time ago. I was saying earlier on, it's amazing how I don't need alcohol anymore. It's amazing how I'm able to be on my own like this. And I'm able to deal with the time. I find things to do. Because I remember what it was like before. I remember how obsessive it was and how all-consuming the boredom was when I was under that spell, and I could find nothing to interest me unless it was accompanied by some form of alcohol. And I was just imagining myself yesterday. It would have been a typical event when I would have been drunk, and at around 9 or 10 or 12 at night I would have run out of beer and I would have thought I'm gonna go back to the Connemara. It'll be great. I'm gonna walk in the storm with the heavy wind and the rain, and it would have been one of those days that could have, one of those nights that could have ended so badly. I could see myself going to the Connemara, and of course when I'm there I have to have a few shots. I can't just take what I'm supposed to take, because the whole point of the thing is to be totally jacked up out of your mind for the walk back, so that all the music is, multiplied by 10. But then the air hits you, and halfway back, it's one of those times I could have seen myself slip and fall and be rolling around in the muck. And then I could see myself getting back. This would be all totally blackout phase at this point, and I'd go to bed and I'd wake up the next day trying to fucking remember what the fuck happened, and then I'd realize, I lost my glasses, and I lost my hat, and I've lost something else. I've lost I'm lucky I didn't lose more stuff. And I'm full of muck, and there's muck in the bed, and there's muck on the floor, and it's good for me to go through these scenarios because it acts as a fantastic deterrent. You know, when I think of, oh well, do you ever miss it? Do you ever miss going to the heights? The adventure of going to the Connemara, listening to music, being kind of swept away on this high spirit of it, and I just think of I just follow this scenario, like I just said there, and it just brings me completely to my senses. I have to say that those mornings were some of the worst feelings I have ever encountered in my life. As Bowie said, the hardest thing to bear is a blackout. He wasn't wrong. It's actually quite nice. It's very damp and mucky, but it's still. "20 minutes. 20 minutes, it seems longer. I'm still uploading audios to the This Life channel. Got a few more I was listening to earlier today. It's really cool. I was listening to one, I only did it last month. It was an audio that was on the DVR old device. And I couldn't even remember if I'd done anything, and I turned it on and there's 2 audio files on it, so I was listening to one which was, like I said, it was just done the end of last month, so not that long ago, but I'd totally forgotten about it. It was me and Flo going walking with Tuco and Rita. And of course, as I'm listening to it, I'm kind of remembering. I'm remembering the conversation, and I'm remembering the scene, because it only happened a few weeks ago. But I'd forgotten I'd made the recording. That's the best thing about these things. I think the more you do, the greater the chance that when you listen back, there'll be lots and lots of things that you'll have forgotten about. And by the use of these things, you'll be able to kind of remember or work your way through the weeks or the months, knowing that, oh, that was the month that we did that. That was the... I kind of stopped these audios last year, around June or something. And it would have been interesting if I'd started up in November, because it'd be interesting to hear my audio takes at the very beginning of my adventures in this crypto land. But I didn't do that because I took a break from all this audio, and I didn't really record anything. I just started again really this February, I think. 1 or 2 in January. And I've started doing it now again more consistently. But it would have been interesting to hear my thoughts in November the 8th, when I start putting money in Coinbase and stuff. And when I start calling out the what would have been the current prices of Bitcoin and ADA at that time. It would have been an interesting line to follow, that one. Because of course the prices have changed so much. Did it adding up about 2 days ago, maybe even just yesterday, but everything was quite high, and it's nice to kind of do your accounting when everything is high. And I got to the total figure of the investment, and it was 98,000. And I thought, my God, we're almost up to 100,000 euros for a 45,000 investment. That's the total amount we've put in so far. That's kind of a bit surreal to think you've made double just by taking a chance on these things. That's the other thing about all this crypto thing. It's more, for me, there's a great enjoyment in watching the graphs go up. There's a great enjoyment in watching the money become more. But other than that, I have no real project or anything. I've got no real... I heard a guy talking online yesterday. He was saying, a lot of our ambitions is to buy a Lamborghini. Buy a Porsche. This is what... you have that dream of what it's all about, what you're trying to earn the money for. I don't have anything... There's no purpose behind it as such. I get a great kick out of having more money when I check. But I keep saying kind of to Flo, it'd be nice to have an investment. Like our brother Olivier bought a property, 100,000 in Toulon, when he's renting it to students, or he's going to rent it to somebody, a couple maybe. And I'm thinking that'd be something good to do because it's a steady wage coming in. If you could get an apartment for 100,000 and have a couple living in it, and they're paying 500, 600 euros rent a month, and 200 of that's paying off your mortgage and you keep the rest, it's much more concrete and it's much more safe than any kind of cryptocurrencies. Flo's had a property in Marseille for a decade, and it just kind of... it's one of those things that is very steady, and if you're lucky, most people are lucky enough to have decent tenants. So that's the only thing, and it's kind of vague because it's not like I'm actually looking at properties or looking at, I'm not going into it any greater depth than a thought of, well, that would be good. And so there's nothing else I want to buy. So I just get a kick out of the whole thing. I just like seeing the prices go up, the price of the coins, seeing the money go up. But I do think if the opportunity arose where we could get a property like that in Toulon, let's say, or X. Yeah, if there was ever a reason you wanted to just take the money and run, that would be one place that you could be sure it'd be a good bet. Take your 100,000, buy a property, and then get your tenants in. And it's a long-term thing, but it's it might come a time when you'd be very happy of having 600 euros coming in each month. Not that I spend much time thinking about when I'm going to be 70 or 80. If I get that far. I guess the other thing there, in an indirect way, and it's kind of always around, is this notion of being self-sufficient. If somehow there was the ability to do stuff, and because there is always, I've said this before, I think I said it yesterday, just the fear of selling the Connemara and being under pressure to get a job, and well, I don't have to go on about that, but you know the story. It'd be great to get involved in the staking and the other things you can do with the crypto, where you could be making money every month. You could make a wage out of it. but I think that's dreaming at this point. I think the bad weather is gone. The clouds are all moving away slowly. And I'm returning home. I'm on the path. And I should take the mail. I'm going to let this get to 30 minutes, and then I'm going to switch off and take the mail. Yes. So, there you go. Nothing much more to report today. Quiet day. I just had to get out of the house for a little bit. Get some air, have a walk before I settle down for the night time. Anyway, adios for now. Bye.